We need to create a little bit, just a little bit of willingness, a little bit of a space between our present moment experience and our story of it. And this morning, I just received the most beautiful reminder, and I wrote some notes, and I'll share this here. Recognizing we're in this eclipse window, very strong Scorpio-Taurus axis, squaring Saturn very tightly. And maybe I'll speak a little bit to the astrology later on. But when we see transits like this, it speaks so strongly to one of those moments where our core soul content is just, right here. Our soul content is that which we haven't yet seen. It's always that which we haven't yet incorporated. Right? The challenging, deeper, shadowy, unconscious content is that which we do not yet understand. And so there's always something very beautiful and important in recognizing these times where there's just a lot of healing. We can relate, we can orient to these times with a mindset of healing and recognize, okay, where I'm going is not what I understand. What I'm to learn is not what I have yet learned. And so there needs to be a little bit more space, a little more willingness to learn something new, to see differently. Awakening is the perfect storm of what I did not want and total acceptance. It works its way around the ego's defenses, tricking our own self-concept to be totally stifled between an impossible situation and an impossible resolution. There's no answer here. There's no answer to the impossible situation, to the suffering, to the conflict. And the ego, the personality, the sense of self that we all have develops such skillfulness in negotiating and navigating all kinds of life experiences. And we get to these points along the journey, if we're lucky and if we're really willing to see it, where the most skillful ego structure just won't do it. It will fail. And so awakening is the perfect storm of what I did not want and what I cannot resolve, that which I cannot answer, and total acceptance. With nowhere to go, we might find a single, seemingly narrow tunnel of hope that does nothing more than gently whisper the suggestion that there is another way. To turn towards this tunnel is to progressively forget everything else. The distractions to the right and to the left. The thoughts drawing us into the circumstances that are hard, that are painful, that aren't clear. The past that's hard, that hurts. The future that we want certainty around. And yet just this very, very slight, narrow sliver of light seems like a very small passageway, quiet, gentle here. As we give it greater concentration, we begin to forget everything else. We are tempted to ask, but what about this? What about that? And we do that, and we get lost there for a while. And then we relax again. And we come back to this awareness of this sliver of light. It's almost imperceptible, quiet, gentle presence awaiting our awareness. Opening to faith, perhaps at first, just a small willingness, perhaps an immense amount of doubt. No, there can't be anything here. This can't answer my problems. This can't take me out of suffering. maybe just a small willingness, perhaps some level of trust. Isn't this what all of the teachers, all of the traditions, all of the books have been pointing to? Is there something of value for me here? No, there must be something valuable for me there or then. But we come back time and time again with just a small willingness to trust, a glimmering sense of hope. We are learning to keep our concentration and to return back to the seemingly small glimmer of hope, of light. As we do this, our vision opens. A growing sense of ineffable, unexplainable perfection. Do we have an answer yet? No. Are we able to explain the past and understand the future? No. Are the hurts gone yet? No. But there's a sense, a growing wisdom, a deepening understanding and faith and trust and serenity in recognizing there is a teaching here, there is a healing here, and I need not understand. It's a calling within our soul to trust, to come back. This sliver of light, this sliver of hope that is here, it's not anywhere else but here. There's a teaching in A Course in Miracles that I was just thinking about a couple days ago, and then I got an email from a teacher of mine that quoted it. And maybe if Michelle, you're here, maybe you can put it in the comments because I don't remember the actual quote. The holy instant isn't something you do or come to, and then there are many instances. Like the holy instant is one instant. It's the same instant throughout all of eternity, all of the past and all of the future. It's unchanging. Framing this idea that now isn't like wedged between some past and some future. Now is a continual thread of wholeness and perfection and reality that is unchanging and remains absolutely unaffected by all fluctuations of time and space. We're learning to orient to this profoundly forgiving, loving, clear, wise, infinite, ineffable present moment. All of our ideas of who we are, of what we need, of where we're coming from, of where we are going, do not fit into this moment. It just doesn't land. It doesn't take away from the moment. It's not recognized. You know, it's like throwing a shadow at the sun. You can't do that. And so this impossible situation of our effort and our attempts to make something work out, we're so humbled, especially as we start to understand what this is about. We're so deeply humbled to recognize that we can't do this with our identity. We can't do this with our personal thinking, with our personal sense of self. What we saw as wrong was in fact merely the gift of revealing to us our belief in wrong. The impossible situation of our life was but to show us the impossible belief in our mind. To seek happiness where none can be found, and to blame where we sought it, and not realize that it was our own decision that was our disappointment. And we could have a very well-functioning, seemingly tidy, and even in the standards of the world for a time, successful human experience. And there's immense peace and beauty and joy in, of course, having a beautiful human experience, but in and of itself, to believe that it is our human experience, the seeming perfection of the body, of our relationships, of our money, of any facet of our own life, that is the salvation, that is the peace, that is the joy, the happiness that we're truly seeking, is just setting us up to realize at some point everything that we valued will disappoint us. This doesn't mean giving up on the world. It isn't. I'm here on Zoom. I'm learning the same things that we're all learning. It's about recognizing the world doesn't give us anything that we're looking for if the goal is itself. It will disappoint us. And there's a teaching in A Course in Miracles that brings us back to realize the purpose of perception is to show us that which we want to see, which is a profound thing to think about. That life is more of a mirror, not so much of a fact. We can then hold loosely all the things that come and go in our life with a deep willingness and an openness to become a disciple of our own mind. The moment we start thinking, oh, this means I have to live this way or I have to live this way, we've missed the point. So much of our spiritual paradigm and where we're coming from, I feel for so long, has held these very absolute ideas of the spiritual journey, where it's almost been the householder and the monk, right? Make money, be in the world, or renounce everything. But that gives a false importance to the things of the world. It says money can distract you. It says having a family can distract you. What if one or the other wasn't more or less of a distraction? What if being a monk could be more of a distraction than being a householder? What if the circumstances of our life and the path, the dharma that we're here to walk, is the perfect one for our remembering? For some people, this might mean bringing this quality of listening, of presence, of inner looking into their relationship to money, into their relationship to partnership, to family, into business practices. For other people, it might mean withdrawing from that. All these phases of relative human experience, the gift that we're remembering and learning to be without judgment, is there are so many ways. And in fact, we've all gone through these different phases of our life where we're exploring a different diet, right? Like, this is how I'm going to eat. I'm constantly finding on my own soul journey, having gone through so many phases along my path, that the only answer I've really been able to find is the one wherein there's a profound sense of forgiveness and openness to find out what's the most healing, loving, and caring way to be now. I most recently discovered the joys of soaking cooked rice overnight so it ferments in the water, and then lightly cooking it with bananas. It works so well for my system. I don't feel tired. It's like, for someone else, that might not make any sense. And does that mean that's the ideal diet, the ideal relationship, the ideal amount to charge, the ideal relationship to money, the right way to shave, the right way to fill in the blank? No, nothing in this world has a right way. It's all the template for our learning. It's actually all the perfect template from which we get to realize what's in our own minds. That's the purpose of this world. And seeing it as that just brings this immense amount of spaciousness and openness to be with these uncomfortable places. Where are the edges right now of our own soul journey? Where are the edges where we're just so uncomfortable with the unknown? Where we're so uncomfortable with the content and the discomfort of our human experience that we don't want to relax, that we're uncomfortable relaxing. My deepest suffering in the past couple months has simply been my resistance to relaxing and being with the energetic content inside, not the object focus. Any strong Scorpio-Pluto dynamic is object focus. The specific person, place, thing that I'm craving or averting. The specific person, place, thing that is triggering the intense discomfort. But just the discomfort, just the perceptions, just the curiosity for what is happening in the mind. Loosening our grasp, creating some space in that. And that's where we become so curious about this perfect storm between everything we didn't want to happen. Everything that we're uncomfortable with is exactly what we didn't want on a conscious level. The perfect storm between what we did not want and total acceptance. Total acceptance, total allowing, a total yielding to the gift, to the medicine that is making itself available right now. We then bow with a slight smile towards all the conditions of the world, giving thanks that it is but a mirror of our minds, and it need not be resolved. We need not fix our problems. We can, and we can try, and if it works, great. But if it's a struggle, if it's an effort, if it's not as simple as a paper cut that you put a Band-Aid on, we have to be willing to slow down and ask, is this about resolving my problem, or is this about my mind? Which way do I want to go? We seek not another condition. Let us know this by turning within and asking with sincerity and innocence to experience this moment. This moment is perhaps best found through elimination. Something I sometimes like to do when I'm lying in bed and I'm sleepless, one of many things that I like to do with my mind, is explore every thought that is impermanent, which is every thought. Just witnessing everything and then sort of noting, well, that's not true. It comes and it goes, well, that's not true. Or a story about how I feel about my allergies, noticing the emotions that arise, witnessing everything that comes. It is perhaps easier to recognize what is not now and then to see what remains than trying to somehow grasp an experience of now, which is ungraspable. And this whole awakening thing, which is something I'm just super into, is completely ungraspable. And I think a part of why I'm drawn to share and teach and sing and write poetry and have these spaces, not just as an astrologer, but these spaces to come together in these reflections and these rememberings, is because the calling of truth, the calling of now, is so deep and it's so universal. It's so real and it's completely ungraspable. And all we can really do is find a way outside of the ego's defenses. Right? Find our way around the little trickery attempts to grab at some other construct, to create some sort of seeming security that replaces now. What is not now? Everything that passes. It's always the memory of the thought and the reaching for the next, sitting and grasping at each passing cloud. Being with what is to be with. And I was thinking, like, what does that mean to be with? It's a part of why I'm always reminding myself to stop and slow down and tune in before speaking the next word. Because being with is a matter of being with. It's something that's here. It's not yet a thought. It's not the thing I'm trying to replicate or the thing I'm trying to get to. It's so much more intimate than that. And actions or words or anything that comes from a being with translates as authentic, translates as real, and it lands in the whole system as health, as wellness. There used to be an experience, and it still happens for me, where I pick up the guitar and I'm wanting to sing so badly that I'm singing and I'm trying to sing. I'm trying to replicate somewhere that I was. Or in relationship, trying to listen and I'm replicating listening. Being in meditation and replicating meditation. And the experience of now is always just beyond all of those efforts. And it's just the beautiful experience of failing, realizing all that was happening was an effort to be now. And that's it. And that there's always just a return to now. So I just want to offer these blessings for us all as we create our own container, our own ceremony, our own inner space moving into this eclipse time. And beyond. You know, the eclipse is a portal and so much energy moves in and out. And there's so much healing, so much new awareness, the possibility of making essential changes during these times, especially with such a strong Saturn involved. deep awareness, deep growth, deep commitment to build a more healthy, more functional way of being. That we find more courage, more trust, more bravery, more permission, more safety in coming back to the teachings, coming back to the moment, coming back to where all the healing is, and being willing to look at everything with much more space, much more openness, to see our own minds, to see where the healing is in our own minds, and to bow to one another and recognizing that we share this journey. We share this journey. We create a false sense of separation when our journey becomes one of adversity. The me versus you and all the seeming interpersonal pieces that we have going on, and we see between people, between countries, between different groups. And yet the healing returns when we recognize, oh, there's one healing going on. And I couldn't see something wrong with this person, place, thing if there wasn't something healing in me. And if we're both in the suffering, if we're both in the struggle, then we're both sharing the same precious opportunity for healing. That's where I really honor this deeper Aquarian truth. We are walking each other home. The truth of togetherness is like so real. And we can continue to cultivate a path of honoring that. And inside our hearts even, just bringing kindness, bringing love, bringing care, bringing gratitude to all the places that feel challenging and difficult. Honoring that there's a gift in all of it.